Hi guys, welcome back to Empower Tutorials. This is your master teacher, Dr. Sonam. Yes guys, how are we all doing? So we've started with plant physiology. We initially completed about the absorption of fruits, right? And now we have currently started with photosynthesis, right? So what have we seen in the last session of photosynthesis? Yes, can anyone tell me? So basically, what we've seen in the last session of photosynthesis is all the basics that we need to know about photosynthesis, right? What is photosynthesis? We've seen the basics that plants are going to take in the carbon dioxide, right, in the presence of sunlight, and they are going to give us oxygen, right, and the form of glucose, like, or you can say energy, which is in the form of glucose. So we have seen a gist of what is photosynthesis. Then we also saw about what is a chloroplast, right? We have studied that the process of photosynthesis is mainly taking place in the chloroplast, and this chloroplast is going to contain small disc-like or coin-like structures, which we are calling as thylakoids. And there is a pigment which is present on the membrane of the thylakoid, which is known as the chlorophyll pigment, right? And we need to know one thing very clearly: photosynthesis will not happen without chlorophyll and sunlight. Okay, so this is all the basics that we have seen. Another thing that we saw was the potassium ion theory, that is happening in the stoma of the leaves, in the stomata. Okay, so we've seen what happens in the daytime, how the stomata opens. We've seen how in the nighttime the stoma closes. So we've seen about the exchange of this potassium ion theory. So now going ahead, let's see what we have in store for us in the second session of photosynthesis. Okay, to begin with the quote, the key to success is to focus on goals and not obstacles, right? I mean, kids, if you're going to only focus on what problems you all are having in your way, तो उसका solution तो कुछ निकलने वाला है नहीं, right? So all you have to do is focus on where you want to reach, what your goal is, right? So when your eyes are there, ये बीच में जो भी obstacles आएंगे will not bother, you'll keep crossing those obstacles and you will reach there. Always remember, these obstacles are nothing but stepping stones to success, as in you will climb these stones of obstacles and reach success, right? So kids, remember one thing: don't focus on the obstacles but focus on your goals. Okay, now another thing that we are seeing is photosynthesis अभी कैसे चालू होता है. What we have seen, it starts because of sunlight. तो sunlight पड़ता है leaves के ऊपर, then from there it enters the chloroplast which is present, and so on the process continues. So now there are certain modifications, or you can say adaptations, that are done in the leaf, done as in it is naturally, okay, which are present in the leaf, which help photosynthesis. Okay, let's see them one by one. Now this is the structure of the leaf. Okay, this is the cut section of the leaf. ये ऊपर का waxy layer is the cuticle that we have seen. Xylem and phloem are the vessels. Epidermis is the upper layer. Palisadic mesophilic cells are the first layer of cells. Then we have the spongy mesophilic cells, right? And inside, between these cells, we are going to have the stomas that we have already studied earlier in transpiration as well. Okay, now let's see the adaptations. So the first one says epidermis is thin and transparent. Epidermis is the upper layer. Now this allows more light to reach the palisadic cells, right? Now if this layer, this upper layer is going to be thin, so more sunlight will pass through it, right? Next thing is thin cuticle is made up of the wax. So now that is to protect the leaf without blocking the light. ये ऊपर का जो layer है cuticle, जो waxy coating होता है ना leaf का, when you touch it, upper surface is waxy. So that is basically present for protecting the leaf, but it does not block the sunlight. Okay, it allows the sunlight to pass. Next thing is palisade cell layer is present at the top of the leaf so that it can absorb more light. Next is spongy layer, जो नीचे वाला layer है cells का. It has air spaces which will allow the carbon dioxide to diffuse through the leaf and increase the surface area. Now spongy layers help increase the surface area of the leaf. And another thing, उससे क्या हो रहा है, बीच बीच में वो spongy cells के बीच में जो gaps हैं या जो spaces हैं, so those spaces are helping the carbon dioxide to pass inside easy. Okay, and next thing is palisadic cells may contain many chloroplasts. Now we know that chlorophyll जो है वो chloroplast के अंदर ही present होता है, right? So जितने ज्यादा chloroplast होंगे उतना ज्यादा chlorophyll होगा, and that will at the end eventually absorb more light. Okay, so these are basic few adaptations that are present in the leaf which help fasten the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, now anything that happens, right, there are some factors which are going to affect that, right? We've seen the same things in transpiration as well, we've seen the same things in absorption of roots as well. So कुछ ऐसे factors होते हैं जो हमारे process के rate को you can say या तो fasten करते हैं या तो hamper करते हैं, or they somewhere play some role in that process of us. So now let's see what are the factors affecting photosynthesis. Now again broadly classified into internal factors and external factors. अभी internal में क्या क्या है अंदर, chlorophyll है सबसे पहले, then cell के अंदर का protoplasm होगा, correct? What is a protoplasm? Protoplasm is nothing but nucleus and the cytoplasm together, okay? And then we have the stoma of leaves. And external factors में, okay, let's go to external later, पहले internal finish करते हैं. So internal में chlorophyll, ठीक है? अभी मेरे को एक बात बताओ, क्लोरोफिल अगर होगा ही नहीं तो फोटोसिंथेसिस ही नहीं होगा. सो डेफिनेटली the more the chlorophyll, the more the rate of photosynthesis, right? So amount of chlorophyll is a very important, or you can say a major internal factor which hampers or fastens the rate of photosynthesis. Next thing is the protoplasm. अंदर के cell organelles, अंदर के cytoplasm के अंदर की जो cell organelles है, how they affect photosynthesis, right? Protoplasm is going to contain chloroplasts, right? So that is going to play a role. And next is the stoma of leaves. Now we have seen how these stoma of leaves allow the carbon dioxide to pass through them, and then further on the photosynthesis process continues. So the more the stoma, the more the carbon dioxide entering the leaf, and more faster will be the process of photosynthesis, right? So this is how somewhere or the else these 2-3 small factors are going to affect the rate of photosynthesis. Now going to the external factors. Now externally, what do you think are these factors? Light, CO2 concentration, temperature, and the water content. Now see, हमने ये देखा है that light, water content और CO2, ये तीनों चीजों से ही हमारा start होता है process of photosynthesis, right? What is our definition? The plants are using up water and carbon dioxide in the presence of sunlight, correct? Now ये चीजें जो है, now sunlight है तो there is definitely going to be some temperature, right? So these are 4 external factors that are affecting the rate of photosynthesis. Now these are few graphs that we have, okay? Okay, now tell me one thing, look at this graph, ठीक है, light intensity का graph. We keep saying, right, that light is more important, light is the major factor for photosynthesis, but तो मतलब क्या बोलना है हमारा ये कि जितना लाइट बढ़ते जाएगा तो फोटोसिंथेसिस बढ़ते जाएगा क्या? मतलब it will keep increasing, there's going to be no limit to it? No, right? So that is not the case. There is definitely certainly going to be some limit, okay, in this process that is happening of photosynthesis. तो light का जो amount रहेगा या light का जो level रहेगा, okay, somewhere it is going to stop, राइट? मतलब कंटिन्यूसली लाइट बढ़ते रहेगा और फोटोसिंथेसिस बढ़ते रहेगा, ऐसा नहीं होगा, राइट? सो लाइट का प्रोसेस, इट नीड्स टू हैव अ ऑप्टिमम लेवल ऑफ इंटेंसिटी ऑफ लाइट. नाउ सी इन दिस ग्राफ आल्सो दैट यू कैन सी हियर, सी ये जो है, ये एक समझो ये ऑप्टिमम लेवल पे पहुंच रहा है यहाँ पे ग्राफ. जैसे मतलब लाइट बढ़ रहा है वैसे ये रेट ऑफ फोटोसिंथेसिस भी बढ़ रहा है, एंड देन इट इज स्टेडी. सो द rate of photosynthesis will be steady once this light is reaching an optimum level. Now same thing is with CO2. ऐसा नहीं होगा कि CO2 बढ़ते जा रहा है तो photosynthesis बहुत fast होगा या बहुत ज्यादा होगा. It just needs to reach the optimum amount, the CO2 and the light intensity, and that is how it continues. ठीक है? Next thing, coming to temperature. Now tell me, temperature, ये जैसे जैसे temperature ऊपर आ रहा है वैसे rate of photosynthesis बढ़ रहा है. Then after a peak, the rate is declining. You are seeing this curve. Now tell me why is that? क्यों? Temperature बढ़ रहा है मतलब light ज्यादा है, right? तो photosynthesis बढ़ना चाहिए ना? Why doesn't it happen? Okay, so let me tell you, there is a optimum temperature that is roughly anything around 35 to 36 degrees. जहां तक you can call it that it is the optimum temperature, जहां तक photosynthesis का rate बहुत अच्छे से चलता है, ठीक है? But when the temperature is going to exceed anywhere around 40 or more than 40 degrees Celsius, the rate of photosynthesis is going to be hampered, and it will not take place as easily as it was at the optimum temperature of anything around 35 degrees Celsius. ठीक है? Keep this in mind. Another thing that you need to keep in mind is टेम्परेचर अगर बहुत बढ़ते जाएगा, the enzymes which are required for our processes, the enzymes which are a part of our processes, don't you think they will get denatured? Right? Enzymes also, when they are heated or when they are exposed to a temperature which is a lot more than optimum, the enzymes also will die, right? The enzymes will also get denatured. So now that is also something that we don't want. So then that is why temperature भी एक optimum level तक आने के बाद starts dropping, and when the temperature will start dropping, the rate of photosynthesis will also drop. When the temperature will increase, the rate of photosynthesis will drop. Okay, are we clear with that? Okay, now photosynthesis, okay, as we know, the light reaction is further classified into two main types of reactions. First one is the light dependent phase, and the next one is the light independent phase. Okay, let's go into it one by one. Now the first one is light dependent phase. ठीक है, light dependent phase से हमको एक चीज समझ में आता है that it is happening in the presence of sunlight. Now what is exactly happening? Let's see. Now this light dependent phase, see what you can see here. ये oxygen, water is being used in the presence of sunlight and chlorophyll is being used. ठीक है, ये H plus ions यहाँ पे liberate हो रहे हैं, यहाँ पे कुछ electrons हैं जो liberate हो रहे हैं, ये oxygen बाहर आ रहा है, right? We are getting yes, just give me a minute, guys. Okay, yes. So coming back to where we were, now we are going to the light dependent phase, right? Okay, let's continue. Yes, we are on the light dependent phase. So what I was saying was, light is falling on the chloroplast, right? There is sunlight which is falling on the chloroplast, and then chloroplast के अंदर we have these thylakoids, the disc-like structures, उनके membrane पे chlorophyll होता है, right? So this chlorophyll is the receptor for light. ये chlorophyll light accept करता है, right? So as soon as light falls on these chlorophyll molecules which are present on the margins of the thylakoids, what happens is these chlorophyll molecules will get excited. Okay, when they are in that excited stage, okay, when they are in that excited stage, they are going to release some electrons. Okay, they are going to release some electrons. What happens is, see, they have got this energy from sunlight. तो उनको कुछ एनर्जी जो मिली है वो एनर्जी यूज करके वो कुछ इलेक्ट्रॉन्स रिलीज करते हैं. ठीक है, now when they have released these electrons, what happens is these molecules will keep jumping from one place to the other. They will keep moving because they have got a lot of energy now. So in this process, they are also losing some energy. Correct? Now both things are happening. They are also gaining energy because they have received sunlight and they have released electrons. And there is also going to be some energy that is lost because of the movement of the molecules. Correct? So now what happens is, the energy which they have gained in this process, वो energy वो लोग आगे वाले process में या आगे वाले step में use करते हैं. ठीक है, the chlorophyll molecules and the electrons. What we need to know in the first step is that क्लोरोप्लास्ट पे सनलाइट पड़ता है, क्लोरोफिल जो क्लोरोप्लास्ट के अंदर है वो सनलाइट पूरा एक्सेप्ट करता है बिकॉज इट इज द रिसेप्टर. इट विल एक्सेप्ट द सनलाइट एंड इट विल रिलीज सर्टेन इलेक्ट्रॉन्स. ठीक है, एंड देयर इज सम एनर्जी विच इज गेन, सम एनर्जी विच इज लॉस्ट. तो जो एनर्जी गेन हुआ है वो इज यूज्ड इन द नेक्स्ट स्टेप, दैट इज photolysis. Okay, lysis means breakdown, photo means light, so breakdown in the presence of light is the second step. अब ये breakdown किसका हो रहा है? Breakdown हो रहा है water molecule का. Okay, now what is happening in this water molecule? See, we have this water molecule here. ठीक है, इसमें क्या हो रहा है? This water molecule is getting split into hydrogen ions, electrons and oxygen gas. ठीक है, hydrogen ions, okay, it is not nascent hydrogen, it is hydrogen ions, electrons and oxygen gas is being released. Okay, let's see what is happening. The energy gained is utilized for the splitting of water molecules. Photolysis of water is the splitting of the water molecule into hydrogen and oxygen in the presence of sunlight. During the first stage of photosynthesis, when the light energy is absorbed, PS2, that is P680. Now this is regarding the chlorophyll molecule, okay, or the chloroplast. Just leave that. PS2 is the state of excited state of electrons. Okay, the electrons in the chlorophyll are energized to the excited state, right, as we discussed, and they are captured by the electron acceptor. Once the electron drops to the ground state, when they are dropping to the ground state, मतलब क्या हो रहा है, उनका energy level कम हो रहा है, right? And जब उनका energy level कम होता है, that is when the water molecule का splitting starts. Then the water molecules get split due to the presence of photon. Photons are positively charged particles. So what is happening? Water is getting split into hydrogen ions, electrons and oxygen gas. ठीक है, अब क्या हो रहा है, ये जो electrons release हो रहे हैं, these electrons will go back and get continued in the second round of this photosynthesis. ठीक है, and what is happening here is, ये जो hydrogen ions है, NADP, ठीक है, nicotinamide diphosphate is getting converted into nicotinamide triphosphate and in the presence of hydrogen ions. तो basically क्या हो रहा है, one phosphate group is being added. So one phosphate group is being added. तो उससे क्या हो रहा है, phosphorylation. Okay, here you will see that this is the splitting of water. ये यहाँ पे hydrogen ions है. These hydrogen ions are used to convert NADP, that is what I said, nicotinamide diphosphate, to nicotinamide diphosphate with the hydrogen ion. ठीक है, so NADPH. So here what is happening is phosphorylation is happening. A phosphate group is being added, so phosphorylation is happening. And electrons जो है, that is what I said, they will go back to the chlorophyll and continue in the next stage of photosynthesis. And oxygen जो release हो रहा है, that gets excreted from the leaf as a byproduct. Correct? Oxygen हमको मिलता है, right, as the product of photosynthesis. That is the byproduct of photosynthesis, which is coming out of the leaf. So that is what is happening in the splitting of water. ये हो गया light dependent phase. Now coming to the next phase, which is the light independent phase. अब इसको कुछ लोग Calvin cycle बोलते हैं. It is also given the name of Calvin cycle, of course, about on the name of the scientist. And it was earlier also known as the dark phase. ठीक है, वो first वाला light phase होता था because it is in the presence of light, and this was used to be known as the dark phase. But this does not happen in the night, or it does not happen in dark conditions. Okay, so that name is probably, you can say, aborted, and nowadays the term dark phase or the dark stage is not used. We simply call it light independent phase. Point सिर्फ ये है कि light use नहीं होता है बस, but it does not happen at night and it does not happen in dark. ठीक है, now this is a very basic thing. इसमें क्या हो रहा है, जो वहां, ठीक है, जो वहां हमारा NADPH रिलीज हुआ था in the first light dependent reaction, तो ये NADPH यहाँ use होता है, and also there is certain energy which is used here, and the carbon dioxide that we have, that is converted to starch or glucose or carbohydrates. Simpler form is glucose. Glucose sometimes even later gets converted to sucrose in a more complex sugar. Okay, so see what is happening. ये दोनों का mixture है, total diagram है ये. Sunlight है तो light reaction हो रहा है. When oxygen is being released, ठीक है, NADP था plus without the H था पहले, then H2O and ADP, ठीक है, adenosine diphosphate group था, and then later ADP, because of the light reactions, ये सब चीजें जो है convert होती है. NADP with phosphorylation gets converted to NADPH, and ADP, that is diphosphate, gets converted to ATP, that is adenosine triphosphate. And this NADPH and ATP are then used in this light independent phase. Okay, and क्या होता है then वहां पे, what is the basic product of light independent phase is glucose, or you can call it starch, or you can call it carbohydrates. Okay, so this is the basics for today's session, guys, and what you all need to remember from today's session is the a few adaptations that we have studied about the leaves. Next thing that you need to remember is the two types of reactions, the light dependent phase and the light independent phase, and all the factors that are affecting the rate of photosynthesis. Okay, we have probably covered almost all the important say topics of photosynthesis. Now हमारा जो एक probably last session होगा on photosynthesis, what we are going to discuss in that is probably one or two experiments, okay, which are asked to us probably maybe in our practicals or sometimes even in our regular papers. Experiments which are going to tell us about photosynthesis, which are going to prove that sunlight, yes, sunlight is used, या फिर experiments जो हमको जो हमारा starch जो बाय प्रोडक्ट है जो हमको मिल रहा है photosynthesis से, so what is the reaction between starch and iodine and many such things, release of carbon dioxide, release of oxygen, ऐसे कुछ important experiments है जो हम देखेंगे next session में. And another major important thing that we are going to see in the next session is the carbon cycle. Okay kids, so that's it for today. Please go through all the sessions. Do hit the like and subscribe button on our channel Empower Tutorials, and I will see you all back soon. Bye bye.